Mates. My name is Lucas Stump, and I'm gonna be presenting um, just general knowledge that you should know on phishing attacks. This goes along with my research paper that I will introduce, that I will turn in, and so yeah, let's get to it. So to kick things off, I'm gonna ask you a question. Have you ever been sent a random email, right, from someone you don't know, or a text message? And if you open that email or text message and you actually interacted with it and you followed the instructions on it, you were just phished. Phishing attacks are designed to fool people into sharing their information without them really knowing it, right? In this presentation, I'll discuss what a phishing attack is, its different types, and what effects they can have. And at the end, I'll also discuss some practical solutions to stop phishing attempts as well. So what is phishing? Cyber criminals use phishing attacks as a hacking strategy, right? So it's pretty much a hack. Um, Phishing attack um, consists with a lot of trickery, right? So you're trying to trick your victim into thinking they're accessing a legitimate website, URL, anything, and you want them to interact with that website or link that you provided, whether it's their personal information, such as their credit card numbers, social security numbers, names, emails, phone numbers, passwords. It can really be anything. But um, the attackers make these phishing attacks very legitimate, where it's almost impossible to notice the difference between if a web page is authentic or not. And so a lot of people fall victim to these sorts of attacks every single day. Um, and later on in this presentation, I'll share a little story behind one that was almost done to me. Well, here it is, an example, right? So I received this text message. Um, I receive a lot of these kinds, but this one I actually interacted with, um, but it didn't fool me. I knew it was a phishing attack. So pretty much what I did was I copied this link and I opened it in a virtual environment, um, where no matter what happens in that environment, my host or my computer doesn't get damaged, right? I can just kill the VM and everything will be fine, right? So I opened this URL that was sent to me, and it asked me for information such as my name, last name, um, birthday, gender, social security number, right? And they put the word here citizen, so it makes you think it's being sent from a government agency. Um, so yeah, um, I didn't input obviously any of that, but I was just curious to see what kind of information this certain fisher or attacker was trying to get access to, and it's very sensitive personal information. Right, so the different types of phishing attacks. There are many different kinds of attacks being used today, and they're used every single day. And in order for us to properly defend against them, is to know what they are and how they work, right? So it's it goes from farming to spearfishing to fishing, whaling, and smishing. There are some other ones, but these are the five that I feel are the most used, and I'm going to get a little bit more into what each one does. All right, so here we have an example of what farming is, right? So the attacker's goal is to trick the user into thinking they're on a legitimate website and have them enter their personal information, such as their passwords, PIN numbers, credit card information, and etc. The website will look almost identical to the official one, just with some slight differences, right? But they're hardly noticeable. And then once you input your information and hit that button of submit or okay or update, that's it. It's pretty much over, right? So here in the graph you can see um, the client is issued um, a fake a fake fake website. It'll interact with the fake website, and then when they're done, they'll probably get a message saying um, web page froze, refresh or something. And when they refresh, they'll actually be taken to their real website. So then they don't even know, that they were even on a fake one. So yeah, pretty crazy. Next, we have spear phishing. Spear phishing is when an attacker meticulously crafts an email loaded with malware, making it look authentic, and sends it to its target, um, trying to trick them. And if the user falls for it and opens the link on the web page, um, the malware begins to spread onto their device, and the attacker then has access to steal important data or even crash the system if they want to, right? So you can see here, let me move myself over here real quick. You can see here in this chart that the attacker makes the email, um, the user is tricked and interacts with it, it compromises the system, it gains access to the system on the internal network, and that's it. It's pretty much over. Nothing could be done, and everything leads back to the attacker. Next is phishing, also known as voice phishing. This is when an attacker will call you and try to trick you over the phone, making them seem they're someone who they're not. Right? So, for example, in this picture, you can see a scammer calls their victim um, and acts like if they were a bank um, agent. The victim falls for it, responds to their questions, and they're able to walk away with the money, and you'll never hear from them again. So it's that easy and that quick. Next, we have whaling. So whaling is pretty much the spearfishing, but you are targeting the big whale, right? Like the book. Um, so the big whale, in quotes, would be a CEO, an owner, a founder, anyone who has access to a, to a company's full system and information, right? So you'll act like if you're part of that company, an employee or someone important, um, and you'll send them the email, and your trusted partners will fall for the email, divulge information that they shouldn't. You get access to it. You can do whatever you want with it, and that's it. It's pretty much over. So, whaling is basically going for the big kahuna, right? Um, and generally, it's people with a lot of money, of course. Next, we have smishing. Smishing is done. It's sort of like um, emailing or calling, but it's actually text message, right? So I was smished. Um, in the example I told you earlier, I was sent the text message, right? So as you can see in the picture, um, an attacker sent a message with a malicious link. I think it's the user or the victim thinks it's a real link, it's a real problem, and they want to go resolve it, and that's it. The the attacker leaves unscathed with all your information that you shared, and you don't even know what happened. All right, next I'm going to talk a little bit about the countermeasures. So we have anti-phishing software, filtering methods. You can verify site security. You got pop-up blocking, browser security settings, and personal information security. Right. So when it comes to anti-phishing software, today on a lot of websites and web browsers, um, where you see the URL, you can see a little lock to the right. And if that lock is locked, your browser's telling you that you're okay, you're on a secure site, they recognize the site. But sometimes you'll go onto some websites and the little lock will be unlocked with the little red symbol. And this is telling you that, hey, watch out, we don't recognize this site. It could be a phishing um, website, so use it at your own risk, right? So that's a software that's been made to help us stay away from those malicious sites. Next, we have filtering methods, right? So we can use filters to try and block phishing attempts. Um, uh, so pretty much the the website you're on, um, the more you report phishing attacks or attempts, and show um, the person or the owner what they look like, how they work, um, the more that that person can prepare and help fix their website um, to prevent scammers from copying and trying to trick them using their name, right? So for filtering methods, the more and more reports that are sent and the more knowledge there is about how phishing attacks look and how they don't, we can use past attempts and block them out, right? So then attackers would have to come up with new ones that aren't in these filters. Next, you can verify the site security. So before you submit anything or any personal information on a website, you can look at the website security, right? So the URL is always a good place to start. Um, secure secure websites will start with HTTPS, right? Um, instead of HTTP. So that's always something to watch out for. Um, also, if you notice that the URL kind of doesn't match the website or doesn't have the website's name in it or where you're accessing's name in it, and it's kind of a bunch of different letters and numbers, that's also a sign that it could be a fake URL. But the problem with that is that now attackers can even customize what their URL customize what the URL looks like and can edit them. So uh, you gotta watch out for that. You can use pop-up blocking. So there's now a software where that'll instantly block any pop-ups from showing up when you go onto a website. So sometimes when you're browsing a website and you click something, it'll pop and take you to another website, and sometimes you don't even notice it happened. And when you start interacting with that website, um, you're pretty much being uh, tricked, and it can install malicious things. Also, pop-ups don't have to be other websites, but pop-ups can instantly download something onto your computer without your permission. So pop-up blockers are always a good thing to have to prevent that from happening. Next, you can use browser security settings um, to help prevent uh, phishing attacks from happening. So you can use different different tools such as Norton Safe Web or ScanURL or PhishTank to verify if the link to the website you're on is authentic and real, and that'll let you know. Sometimes they won't even let you open a certain link um, without you approving it, right? So it'll say, hey, we advise you not to. This could be an unsecure website. If you wish to continue, click continue. So you at least you know before you're going on that, hey, watch out. But if it's something that you feel is okay, you can always click continue to go in. And then you can always do personal information security. Um, so find different ways to make sure that your information personal information on your websites, on your devices are secure. So maybe not save, there's always an option to save passwords and save usernames, and maybe not do those, and write them yourselves um, when you are asked that. That's a way to stay safe. So with these countermeasures, um, obviously they're not foolproof, but at least we do have um, some ways to stay safe while we browse or surf the internet, and when we receive messages and want to respond back to those messages. Now to end things off, to conclude everything, so phishing is a security vulnerability that has evolved and will continue to do so as long as people use the internet, right? So it's not something that I think can ever be eradicated. And there was always people out there willing to do harm for their personal gain. So um, attackers will attempt to exploit um, people's information, whether it's financial, educational, social interactions. Um, everyone's at risk, right? Doesn't matter who you are. With many cyber attacks out there in the world today, phishing is one of the easiest ways um, to fall, and it is the easiest method to use to trick people into falling. And I feel it's the most widely used method. Um, the goal of my research was to educate you guys from of the many different kinds of attacks being used today, so that you can uh, realize that it's happening when it's happening, and find a way to protect yourself. Um, it also this My research also explored the measures being taken to combat these, including filtering software, website verification checks, browser protections, and more. And the best form of security is educating users, as I said before. So the number one way to make sure people stay safe when they are using the internet is to educate them on these sorts of attacks, which is what my goal with this presentation and my research paper is. So with that, I end this presentation. In the last slide here, you guys can see some of the references I used to make it. But yeah, thank you guys. If you have any questions, leave them in the discussion forum. I'll be there to answer them, and thank you.